fourth and last part.
Thus Spake Zarathustra was conceived and written in the years 1882 and 83, in 3 parts, or 3 books, as Nietzsche called them. By January 1884 he was finished, and it was a complete work. But by the end of that year, a 4th part hatched in his mind, which he wrote in 85. When he was done, he decided that this would be the final part. Of course, had he lived longer, it is very possible that more parts would have come to him, but it was not to be, and the 4th part is indeed the last part.
Ah, where in the world have there been greater follies than with the pitiful? And what in the world hath caused more suffering than the follies of the pitiful? Woe unto all loving ones who have not an elevation which is above their pity. Thus spake the devil unto me once on a time, even God hath his hell, it is his love for man. And lately did I hear him say these words, God is dead, of his pity for man hath God died. Zarathustra, 2, the pitiful.
Before he begins, Nietzsche quotes from an earlier chapter. When we analyzed the pitiful, I momentarily broke away from my objective interpreter stance and noted that Zarathustra's disdain towards pity, and empathy in general, seems too virulent to me. Here I'll add that I don't think it is the natural conclusion derived from Nietzsche's philosophy. I believe it comes from somewhere else, namely what has happened to his 2 heroes, the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer and the composer Richard Wagner. Both extremely intelligent and capable men, individualists rebelled against culture and created new ideas and values, but then came to regard empathy as the highest value, and it made them turn against individualism. I believe this is why Nietzsche regards pity as so destructive to his philosophy of heroism, but I think he is overcorrecting. The 4th part will focus on pity, and we shall ask, again, if he is not being too harsh on it.
61. The Honey Sacrifice. And again passed moons and years over Zarathustra's soul, and he heeded it not. His hair, however, became white. One day when he sat on a stone in front of his cave and gazed calmly into the distance, one there gazeth out on the sea, and away beyond sinuous abysses. Then went his animals thoughtfully round about him, and at last set themselves in front of him.
Once again, like in the prologue, we find Zarathustra alone in his cave, high up the mountain. Then he decided to descend and be amongst humans, to impart to them the wisdom he accumulated while in solitude. He found that the humans were not ready for him yet, but his time among them gave him more wisdom, and made him go through several more self-surpassings, achieving an even higher level of happiness. Eventually, he restructured his entire philosophy around the idea of the eternal return, putting himself high above the humans of his time. Evidently, he felt that this is an idea that they cannot possibly comprehend, because we learned that since then he remained in his cave for many years, conversing with no man and just enjoying his happiness. But now, something has awakened in him. His animals, the eagle and the serpent, come to speak to him. His pride and his wisdom both sense that there's something wrong.
O Zarathustra, said they, gazest thou out, perhaps, for thy happiness? Of what account is my happiness? Answered he. I have long ceased to strive any more for happiness. I strive for my work. O Zarathustra, said the animals once more, that sayest thou as one who hath overmuch of good things. Liest thou not in a sky-blue lake of happiness? Ye wags, answered Zarathustra, and smiled. How well did ye choose the simile! But ye know also that my happiness is heavy, and not like a fluid wave of water. It presseth me, and will not leave me, and is like molten pitch.
The animals inquire if he is still happy. Zarathustra replies that he no longer seeks happiness. The reason for that is not that he disavowed happiness, but that he is constantly happy, so he has no need to go out and seek it. He just carries on in his activities, his work as he calls it, and that sustains him in his happy state. The animals, however, detect that there is dissatisfaction in his words, or rather oversatisfaction. They invoke the simile of the blue sky, which he used, in chapters like Before Sunrise, to symbolize something that he strives for. They say that now he no longer has to strive for this sky, because he bathes in it like in a lake. So what is the problem? Zarathustra explains that he is so full of happiness that it is heavy on him.
Then went his animals again thoughtfully around him, and placed themselves once more in front of him. O Zarathustra, said they, it is consequently for that reason that thou thyself always becometh yellower and darker, although thy hair looketh white and flaxen. Lo, thou sittest in thy pitch. What do ye say, mine animals? Said Zarathustra, laughing. Verily I reviled when I spake of pitch. As it happeneth with me, so is it with all fruits that turn ripe. It is the honey in my veins that maketh my blood thicker, and also my soul stiller.
The animals always circle around him before they start to speak, symbolizing the way a thought goes around the brain until it emerges, fully formed. They pick up on the pitch metaphor, pitch here in the meaning of tar-like substance, and ask him if this is the reason he became darker. The actual reason probably is that he sits in the sun all day. Zarathustra then realizes that he used the wrong metaphor, although Nietzsche is probably trying to hint that there was some truth in it, and that what fills his veins is not pitch, but honey. This takes us back, once again, to the prologue, where he said, I am weary of my wisdom, like the bee that hath gathered too much honey. I need hands outstretched to take it. He felt the need to share his wisdom, and so he descended the mountain to be with other humans. But this time around, he just stayed up the mountain, accumulating more and more honey, and now he doesn't know what to do with all of it.
So will it be, O Zarathustra, answered his animals, and pressed up to him. But wilt thou not today ascend a high mountain? The air is pure, and today one seeth more of the world than ever. Yea, mine animals, answered he, ye counsel admirably and according to my heart. I will today ascend a high mountain. But see that honey is there ready to hand, yellow, white, good, ice-cool, golden comb honey. For know that when aloft I will make the honey sacrifice.
Instead of going down the mountain, this time Zarathustra climbs even further up. He says he is going to take actual honey, symbolizing the wisdom honey in his body, and sacrifice it, supposedly as a sign of gratitude for his happiness. But Zarathustra has no god. Who will he sacrifice it to?
When Zarathustra, however, was aloft on the summit, he sent his animals home that had accompanied him, and found that he was now alone. Then he laughed from the bottom of his heart, looked around him, and spake thus, That I spake of sacrifices and honey sacrifices, it was merely a ruse in talking, and verily a useful folly. Here aloft can I now speak freer than in front of mountain caves and anchorites' domestic animals. What to sacrifice? I squander what is given me, a squanderer with 1,000 hands. How could I call that sacrificing?
Zarathustra was only kidding when he talked of sacrifice. If we keep in mind that the animals are actually symbols of his wisdom and pride, it means that he was lying to himself. The metaphor here is that he climbed above himself to take a top-down look at himself and be honest about what is actually happening. What is happening is that he isn't doing anything positive with all the wisdom he has. He's just squandering it. This is the thing that was bugging him.
And when I desired honey, I only desired bait, and sweet mucus and mucilage, for which even the mouths of growling bears and strange, sulky, evil birds water. The best bait, as huntsmen and fishermen require it, for if the world be as a gloomy forest of animals, and a pleasure ground for all wild huntsmen, it seemeth to me rather, and preferably, a fathomless rich sea. A sea full of many-hued fishes and crabs, for which even the gods might long, and might be tempted to become fishers in it and casters of nets, so rich is the world in wonderful things, great and small.
Zarathustra feels a need to put his mind to something other than himself. This will be a good use of his wisdom. He needs a sea full of interesting things he can explore.
Especially the human world, the human sea. Towards it do I now throw out my golden angle rod and say, Open up, thou human abyss. Open up and throw unto me thy fish and shining crabs. with my best bait shall I allure to myself today the strangest human fish. My happiness itself do I throw out into all places far and wide, twixt Orient, noontide, and Occident, to see if many human fish will not learn to hug and tug at my happiness.
He wants to explore the human world. Before, he was interested only in humans who were like him, wanting to elevate themselves above humanity. With other humans, he preached just looking away. Now, he wants to throw his golden angle rod into the world of man. We've heard about this angle rod before, in the dance song. It is a short rod, and it belongs to his wisdom, which uses it to pull him out whenever he sinks too deep into an issue, imagining he can find the rules behind it. It then reminds him that there are no eternal rules to be found, so he must remain closer to the surface and seek the temporary rules that prevail at the moment. The rod, then, was always used on himself, but now he wants to cast it into the human sea, pull out interesting humans and explore them. He wonders if he can elevate them and teach them to become as happy as he is. This goes against what he said in the past. In the past, he said he would stand above humanity like an azure bell sky, be a role model for others who want to follow, but not do anything to actively pull them up. But now he is bored with himself, so he needs some other activity.
Until, biting at my sharp hidden hooks, they have to come up unto my height, the motliest abyss groundlings, to the wickedest of all fishers of men. For this am I from the heart, and from the beginning, drawing, hither drawing, upward drawing, upbringing, a drawer, a trainer, a training master, who not in vain counselled himself once on a time, become what thou art. Thus may men now come up to me, for as yet do I await the signs that it is time for my down-going. As yet do I not myself go down, as I must do, amongst men.
Still, he resists the temptation to be like Plato's philosopher, who goes down into the cave to pull humans out of it. He will not go down to be among humans again, at least not until they are ready for him. Instead, he will find clever ways to get them hooked by his rod, and pull them up to him.
Therefore do I here wait, crafty and scornful upon high mountains, no impatient one, no patient one, rather one who hath even unlearnt patience, because he no longer suffereth. For my fate giveth me time. It hath forgotten me, perhaps, or doth it sit behind a big stone and catch flies? And verily I am well disposed to mine eternal fate, because it doth not hound and hurry me, but leaveth me time for merriment and mischief, so that I have today ascended this high mountain to catch fish.
Zarathustra reminds himself that he is still happy, so he doesn't need to rush with this new project. He will take his time, and let things come to him.
Did ever any one catch fish upon high mountains? And though it be a folly, what I here seek and do, it is better so than that down below I should become solemn with waiting and green and yellow. A posturing wrath snorter with waiting, a holy howl-storm from the mountains, an impatient one that shouteth down into the valleys, Hearken, else I will scourge you with the scourge of God. Not that I would have a grudge against such wrathful ones on that account. They are well enough for laughter to me. Impatient must they now be, those big alarm drums, which find a voice now or never.
He realizes that it's not going to be easy to fish other humans, as long as he stays so high up above them. But it is better than to act impatiently and descend to them, because that will only ruin him.
Myself, however, and my fate, we do not talk to the present, neither do we talk to the never. For talking we have patience and time, and more than time. For one day must it yet come, and may not pass by. What must one day come and may not pass by? Our great huzzah, that is to say our great remote human kingdom, the Zarathustra kingdom of 1,000 years.
Zarathustra believes that his way will prevail one day, and will bring about a 1,000-year kingdom based on his values. In German culture, the 1,000-year kingdom is what they call the Holy Roman Empire, which dominated Europe from the beginning of the 9th century to the beginning of the 19th. Zarathustra believes that his values have the power to be this sustainable, but humans are not ready for them yet. Therefore, he must be patient.
How remote may such remoteness be? What doth it concern me? But on that account it is none the less sure unto me. With both feet stand I secure on this ground. On an eternal ground, on hard primary rock, on this highest, hardest primary mountain ridge, unto which all winds come, as unto the storm parting, asking where, and whence, and whither. Here, laugh, laugh, my hearty, healthy wickedness, from high mountains cast down thy glittering scorn laughter, allure for me with thy glittering the finest human fish.
So he's just going to wait and continue to mock humanity. Some people will be drawn to his mockery, realizing it comes from a place loftier than they currently are in, and will thus be drawn to join him there.
And whatever belongeth unto me in all seas, my in and for me in all things, fish that out for me, bring that up to me. For that do I wait, the wickedest of all fish-catchers. Out, out, my fishing hook, in and down, thou bait of my happiness, drip thy sweetest dew, thou honey of my heart, bite, my fishing hook, into the belly of all black affliction. Look out, mine eye, oh, how many seas round about me, what dawning human futures, and above me, what rosy red stillness, what unclouded silence.
Zarathustra realizes that there are also things about himself that he can still learn by interacting with humans, as he did in the past. So he calls on his fishing rod to hook up the humans that contain those things. This is how the first chapter ends. The fourth part, then, shall be dedicated to the attempt to elevate other humans to his happy level.